CNBC TV 18 presents the AI Dialogues in association with IBM.
Hello and welcome to cnbc.tv18.com presents AI Dialogues in association with IBM. I'm Ridu Bhandari. And on this very special series, we are exploring how artificial intelligence is transforming various industry sectors and business functions and unlocking their potential for the future. In this episode, our spotlight is on the human resources or the HR function of organizations that is seeing monumental shifts thanks to emerging technologies and particularly artificial intelligence. Today, AI is automating mundane tasks and freeing up skilled employees for high-value jobs. It's offering data-led insights into talent management and is delivering very personalized employee experiences that enhance satisfaction. But of course, there are challenges around the ethical implications of harnessing artificial intelligence. So how are CHROs driving AI adoption? What are the big trends that will shape the future of HR? And how should people leaders ensure responsible implementation of AI? Those are some of the big questions we will answer here today with a panel of very eminent HR leaders. Our theme today is the future of work, automating the HR ecosystem with generative AI. So let me then welcome Charandeep David, Corporate Vice President of HR at Max Life Insurance, Thirukkumaran Nagarajan, Vice President and HR Head at IBM India, South Asia, Satish Mohapatra, Executive Vice President, Corporate and Business HR at Maruti Suzuki India, and Vikram Tandon, Advisor to the Chairman at Adani Group. Welcome, gentlemen, and Charan. Thank you so much for joining us here today. And today, of course, we want to know from all of you, what are you all doing as people leaders with generative AI, with artificial intelligence at large? And first up, if I can have opening comments from each of you on, what is your approach to AI-led transformation within the HR business function? What are some of the pillars that you are looking at, the foundation that you're looking at while approaching this change? Charan, if we can start with you.
Very clearly, I think the future is going to be of AI. I think it's going to be a lot more digital than it is right now. And we are constantly, debating and having conversations internally within the organization to say that is the way to go. And we're constantly upgrading and saying, okay, how can we use AI? In fact, we have a team which is constantly going, exploring, coming back to the organization and telling us where all we can use AI. For example, I can tell you, in HR, we're exploring a learning experience platform where we will be looking at, what are the skills that are required today and what are the skills for tomorrow? And, can AI really help us develop on those skills? So some of those things, even, employee engagement, can we really understand the mood of our employees today through AI? Can we get feedback from them? And then can we, put some policies or some, maybe employee experience, maybe initiatives in the organization for them to really enhance that experience. So some of those things, we are really looking at this point of time.
Very interesting. Vikram, if I can come to you next, your thoughts?
We are doing a lot of assessments and using generative AI in hiring. We are trying to bring it into employee engagement, as she said, to see what is the employee mood. Our next stage is to bring it into performance assessments. So that the whole performance system is automated, but more importantly, is able to give us some early indications of people who are keen on being fast-tracked, some people who want to venture into other areas. And the only other part that we still want to explore is employee communication. At Adani, we have quite a multi-generational workforce. So the question is, can we tailor-make communication to different age groups? But we're still exploring that.
Okay, that's a very interesting one, and we're going to come back to that. But Satish, what about you at Maruti Suzuki? What is the approach to the HR transformation with AI?
So thank you, Mridu, and being a very customer-centric company so far and undergoing a very rapid growth. On the business front, we have been already using AI in different parts. But about the people front, I would agree with Vikram there, similar to them, we're taking baby steps, and those are in specific areas. we want to eat what we can chew, basically. So areas like talent acquisition, areas like listening to people on a real time basis, areas where we are solving problems for them is what we're trying to do. And they're quite a handful today, but then we don't, in the process, we want to go slow because we don't want to lose the human-centric touch as well.
Right. Fair enough. And Thiru, IBM, of course, an innovative tech company, so huge expectations of the world to, see what IBM does for the world. But tell us what you are doing within the company as far as the people function is concerned. How are you leveraging AI?
Sure. Thank you, Mridu. It's great to be here with my colleagues here. Well, I want to rewind a little bit. Just about a year and a half ago was when we all saw the power of generative AI, the cool stuff that it could do. It started off by writing a speech, writing an essay for our children. You could book a wonderful itinerary when you go on a vacation. Fast forward 18 months, and you see the incredible rate and pace of development across all the industries, be it in the healthcare sector, be it in energy or power, or even in the automobile industry. It's incredible in terms of the use cases. Now, for us as HR leaders in IBM, we support our clients. So the skilling that is required to keep up with this space and help our clients is a huge task. I have to also say, the adoption of AI, the change management aspects of making sure employees are comfortable to work with this new technology, with the right ethical principles, with trust, with confidentiality is a huge ask. In one of the forums, on the lighter side, one of the ministers of AI in the UAE put it quite nicely. He said, well, in the dictionaries, you may not find the difference between the word complete and finished. So if you're able to adopt, use, and deploy AI, most likely you'll be complete. But if you don't use AI and you delay it when the time comes, you're most likely finished. But if you reject the notion altogether of AI that's not, in the world, you're completely finished. I think that sort of put it right. So embracing this technology, and it's also big business. We see, particularly in India, it's at least billions of dollars, almost $20 billion according to Gartner, just within this decade. And with India doing so well, this technology is only going to accelerate the GDP to the tune of trillions of dollars. So it is serious business for us. And when we lead such organizations, for us, I'd like to say you really can't build tomorrow's organization with yesterday's talent. You have to equally develop them to continue with this pace. And equally, the kind of talent that we attract to our companies are digital natives. So you can't insert them into an organization that's operating with yesterday's operating models. Right. So it's a huge challenge for us.
Yeah, no, you rightly said that the workforce that's coming today is digital natives. But for companies like yours that are legacy enterprises, you have multiple generations working within the workforce as well. And today generations are changing at, say, about 7-8 years. So how do you deal with that challenge, and how challenging is it then to upskill the non-digital native workforce, and how do you navigate that?
We, being a tech company, we have the privilege of testing out and experimenting with a lot of future technologies as client zero within IBM itself. We have digital profiles for every IBMer. Right from the time you join, all of your historical experiences, and as you start to live your career and the journey in the company, the amount of learning you've had, the kind of projects that you've actually delivered on, your performance criteria, how much you get paid, what kind of skills are you developing, which countries and geographies have you worked in. All of the above is incredible amount of data that is there. So we harness that data to help the IBMer further develop their careers across the entire life cycle, from hire all the way to retire. At every milestone, we have an AI solution that augments human intelligence, not necessarily displace humans, but it helps managers make the best decisions. It helps every dollar that we invest in an employee goes to the right set of employees. It makes sure that we are able to promote the right set of talent so that we can retain them. So performance management, learning, compensation advisory. There is a significant amount of use cases that we have in IBM all through that life cycle. And I can share more with you as we move along.
We want technology to simplify, we want technology to take away our mundane tasks. What is then happening at Max Life Insurance? How do you use AI for increased productivity, for optimizing costs, and to basically drive overall business growth?
So one is on the customer side. I think there's a lot of digitization, AI use that is happening on how our customers can get access to us as an organization. That's one. The other side, even for our, for our agents and for our employees, when they're dealing with customers, how can they really be able to sell the best product to them is something that we are putting together. So it's on both sides, actually. It can't just happen on one side. And that, of course, we're looking at saying that maybe now, rather than increasing the workforce, which is what we were talking about, can we really work on productivity? With the same workforce, can we continue to grow our business? That is something that we are really kind of focusing on. So it is going to be internal and external both for the business to really grow.
At Maruti Suzuki, I know, Satish, you all have launched an HR support chatbot. Give us a sense of how that has been doing so far. What has the experience been like for employees? And is it a success yet?
We started with humble beginnings, and the need, it was a need-based project. Like, our job, our business is to put India and Bharat on wheels. So our people also have to move around from tier 2 cities to tier 3 cities to villages, and obviously it's not feasible to provide HR support 24/7 from them. So the need started from there to have a system that is not just a reactive machine, but also something that can understand the nuances of human language, give a context-aware response on the employee's particular query about their need, and also converse in a language as natural as possible. Yeah. Yes, while we started and the adoption took some time, the system learns along the way. Today, probably it's not as perfect or as advanced as what Thiru's IBM Watson is doing for them. Let's say today, if I ask about my leave plans or suggest a leave plan, it probably doesn't remind me that, okay, 3 workflows are pending for your employees for performance management or something else, or your learning hours, but then that's the next step. But for us, the initial need was to provide a 24/7 response mechanism to employees, which was natural and it was context aware, and that's I think it has achieved. It's called Chica, and I'm happy with the adoption we've got so far, but we want to make it even better.
Right.
Actually, the challenge is to keep it updated. So we also have something similar. Any employee can go and ask any HR policy related questions on that. In fact, anything in the organization. So we have different departments contributing. But over a period of time, one is adoption, popularizing it in the organization, and the other is to keep it updated in real
Absolutely.
time. That's important. And that's where sometimes, you tend to kind of slow down as an organization, because then you do need workforce to keep updating it as well.
Yes,
Because
absolutely.
AI will not work without that.
Absolutely.
CNBC TV 18 presents the AI Dialogues in association with IBM. CNBC TV 18 presents the AI Dialogues in association with IBM.
Let's also get the conglomerate view from you, Vikram. Adani, of course, a large conglomerate operating across very, very diverse sectors. How can AI then be customized and really personalized to sectoral needs in such a large group? And then also balance it out with the fact that the employee experience across the group should be similar, seamless, consistent.
So we have many initiatives underway. I think I would first bucket a lot of standardization. So a lot of communication, onboarding, hiring frameworks, assessment frameworks are quite standardized irrespective of the business. And what Adani thrives on and gives this as an important opportunity to employees is the ability to move across businesses. The fact that you have similar systems and platforms makes it easier. I think what we are trying to now do is there are some new companies and there are companies which have been there for a long time. And that's where we are using perhaps different techniques to instill adoption. We are working with a lot of partners, I think with IBM as well, to educate the workforce on the opportunity of making life simpler for themselves and for the customer. And we are trying to weave this into the KRAs of the managers, because we feel managers play a very, very key role in the adoption of generative AI or any AI tool. And we are trying to build some fun into this whole thing. And through our communication team, we are sharing a lot of success stories. Also, I think somewhere there's a massive transition underway where we are giving a lot of power to the employee in their hand for a lot of process policy where we eliminate so many layers and try and automate things like leave and other things where there is reasonably straight through processing, and what the employee gets is a quick outcome. And hopefully that will instill confidence that look, this is not to disrupt my life, but it is going to make it better.
And Thiru, you want to add on to that, because at IBM also I know that you want to keep the employee experience at the center of revolutionizing HR with AI. What tools and techniques are you then using to ensure that employees have a fantastic experience when it comes to AI? Like Vikram was saying, quick output, quick decision making, making their work more easy and fulfilling. Give us some use cases that you've applied.
We have a very intelligent AI-powered platform, which pretty much has an end-to-end, from hire to retire kind of a life cycle in terms of support and advice that we provide. It caters to all levels of the organization. Not just does it answer simple queries, but it actually transacts stuff for you. So if you are an upline manager and you needed to make some organizational transfers and you forgot, it's 10 o'clock in the night, you're walking your dog, you could actually go to your mobile and you could actually, with a few clicks and a few text, have a conversational approach saying, I need to transfer Vikram from manager A to manager B. It says, okay, during the transfer, would you like to give him a salary increase? He says, yes. Would you like to, and you input it. Let's say you input, 10%. The system recognizes that Vikram is a certified cloud architect, and it will recommend to the manager, maybe you should give him a 25% increase because this skill is scarce. It is hard to find in the market. He's got great performance, and you might want to retain him. Do you agree? He says, yes, thank you for that suggestion. And then, and it sort of proactively nudges you with insight so you make the right decisions. And just before you go, it will remind the manager to say, hey, we've noticed you've got $5,000 unused in your appreciation kitty. We have Charan, who's coming up on 25 years anniversary in the company. Do you want to recognize her with this dollars? So it sort of plugs into various talent systems, HR information systems, and it assesses what is most contextual for that moment, hyper-personalized for you as a manager and your teams, so that you can make right decisions which otherwise you may not remember. And this is 24/7. It is 100% accurate, and it never has a mood. It's there to help you.
Oh, that's very, very interesting.
We have a system where Mr. Adani Gautam directly asks questions to the entire workforce, and he gets a direct answer. And coming out of that, we've tried to fix a lot of pain points. Like your example, we've completely redone our onboarding, where we've tried to, because we do a lot of hiring at Ahmedabad, so we've completely made the onboarding experience very, very employee friendly, very employee family friendly, fixed relocation, house searching, and so many other things. And there are many other examples, but when you get real feedback and if you can act on it quickly, then the belief sets in that this thing works.
So explain that to me. When you get real feedback from the workforce, and I assume that when Mr. Adani himself asks a question, and how large is the Adani workforce right now?
We are almost 45,000 employees.
So I'm assuming even if 50% of them respond to a question, you have a huge influx of answers coming from all across the country, sometimes outside the country as well. So what then happens at the back end with AI in sifting those answers and figuring out how you want to respond to those very, very quickly?
So I think what we've tried to do is get quick themes, thematic outcomes, and to see what is low-hanging fruit. Can we try and be responsive and demonstrate agility so that it reinforces the need to answer again. And for other bigger things, we then try and see, is there a fix that covers the whole organization? Many times it could be that schooling in a particular site is not very good, or there is some infrastructure issue, etc. Those are low-hanging fruit and we are able to deal with it quickly. But then there are other bigger opportunities that I suppose takes a little bit more thought and time, but it's a wonderful tool.
Fantastic.
I want to add to that actually, because we have invested some amount of efforts in that area. So Sharon spoke about asking new employees at 30 days, 60 days. See, at 30 days, what can you ask? Whether you've got a laptop or not, a place to sit or not. 60 days. So we have a inbuilt digital persona, which we are launching right now. Actually, it's called Chief Listening Officer. And the Chief Listening Officer is a digital persona who says that whatever you tell me is confidential, it will go directly to the CHRO. And then what it does is at 60th day, it will ask me, do you feel included as part of the team? If they go out for lunch or dinner, do they take you? Now, these are insights no engagement tool will bring out. Also, there are moments that matter. We call it MTM. Whenever somebody experiences a role change or a manager change, sometimes a manager change can be as good as a job change. And at those moments, it has specific set of curated questions that it asks, and in a day, it converses with, as Thiru said, it doesn't have mood and it can work 24/7 as long as the employee is available. So it pops up analytics in terms of who are at risks, who are red flag cases, so that instead of conducting exit interviews, then HR can conduct stay interviews. And that's where the value add of technology comes in.
Absolutely. Right. And talking of analytics, let's dive a little deeper into what are the different types of analytics that you all are generating as HR leaders. How are you acting on them as far as, for example, workforce planning is concerned or talent acquisition is concerned? Let's talk about that first. Thiru, analytics inputs on that one.
Yes, we live in the world of exponential, infinite data. So the amount of cuts and dissections in terms of dashboarding information is incredible. Whatever cut you need in terms of demographic information, talent information, skill information, performance information, pay equity information, diversity information, you have it on your fingertips. And not just for the leaders of the company who run the businesses, but for the first line managers who lead teams. And because they need to have that information in a timely manner, in an easily digestible format, relevant to the job that they actually do, so that they can make the right decisions to grow their teams. I have to also say, a lot of these reports now, with using our partner companies, are incredibly visualized, simple to digest. So you can subscribe to a report. It automatically comes every week, every 2 weeks, every month. So you can make the right information. Specifically for talent acquisition, we consciously have made a decision not to use AI or generative AI to make any selection decisions, because we still believe there's a certain level of bias that could creep in and the technology is not necessarily there yet. But we have introduced AI into various processes that help and simplify tasks for the recruiter. Scheduling interviews, creating job descriptions, posting it on social media, various job platforms. Calling up candidates can be a significant amount of work. Scheduling panel interviews. All of those tasks are now being orchestrated by AI, and that information and insight you have it on a particular dashboard. A significant amount, when you have large workforces, coming back to analytics, is your attrition information. Where are your hot spots? Proactive retention investments that we need to make when you see a certain market trend. Because you don't have an HR professional alongside a manager or alongside a group of employees in every location that they work in.
Correct.
And therefore, you need to have a pulse of the organization way ahead of time. And with AI-powered technologies, I think it just significantly enhances decision intelligence and make it simple.
CNBC TV 18 presents the AI Dialogues in association with IBM. CNBC TV 18 presents the AI Dialogues in association with IBM.
So interestingly, you spoke about selection and the chances of biases creeping in. Hence, IBM not using that technology yet in the selection process. Anyone else who has a contrarian view and you're already using AI for selection?
Yes. Sorry, after you.
We are using for assessments. We still do human interviews. Though I know in the banking sector, there are a few banks which are using completely non-human-led interview outcomes. But I think we are using them to assess and then use the same assessment data for development in the future. But that's what we're doing as far as selection is concerned.
Right. Yes, Satish.
Yeah, so talent acquisition is an area where we are using AI, but then we're using it in areas which are not really assessing people. We are using it, and that's a conscious decision we are taking, because as Vikram said, we also still now are using humans to do the interview to eliminate the biases. So what we're using it is in the outreach, initial outreach. So we have a digital persona again, which there are 800 million CVs in the social media, or to candidates in the profiles in the social media. Now, how do you make out your talent pipeline accurately fish out from that pond? And that's exactly where it uses hyper personalized communication with potential candidates who may not have applied for your jobs, but then you might be interested in them for a future job. And what it does is it converses like a human being with them, congratulates on their small achievements, tells them we value them, so keeps it warm till they reach a point of application. And once they reach, we also have another tool which we actually built in-house, unlike many others which we had to buy, which we call as Arjun. Basically, this is a CV screening tool of ours, so which it again eliminates a lot of human effort. And so far, on the basics of a CV screening, it's been pretty accurate. But yeah, we are trying to make it sophisticated in terms of bringing in domain-specific experiences and those filters to make it more efficient. But at least it helps a lot by making the HR business partners focus on a different higher level of work.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, this is an interesting conversation, right? Because in a country like India, you open a job, you have 5,000 candidates who will apply.
Correct.
And candidate number 1,865 is probably your best candidate. Therefore, there is definitely a use case for AI to support and able to help zero down in terms of the productivity side of it. But you're right, it's going to be based on the CV that is in there. But for us being a tech company, we don't necessarily look for credentials on a document. We test for curiosity, we test for problem solving skills, critical thinking skills, and that's through hackathons, through use cases and case studies. Right. So the way we actually hire talent has also changed over the years. And therefore, we still haven't found that accurate, convincing decision to leverage AI for any selection-based decisions.
Right. So you still cannot claim that AI will 100% throw up candidate number 1865 in the top 10.
I believe never not, because there's always a human decision in the process.
That is required, yeah. Because you would always look for culture, you would always look for potential, you would always look at longevity in the organization. These things, I'm not sure if AI would ever be able to kind of.
But it does shorten processes very considerably.
Of course.
It does.
It sifts through like magic.
Okay, let's shift gears then. We talked about talent acquisition, let's talk a little bit about skilling and learning and development as well. And Charan, if you can tell us a little bit about how you see GenAI really reshaping that area in the future, what's really happening within your organization, some experiences, some small pilots that you want to talk about.
So I must say we are exploring right now, but we definitely understand that the future workforce is not going to be the way we are. I think they are going to be a workforce who wants to learn on their own pace. They want their own time. They want to be, they want to really understand what's in it for them. So we can't really push training. It has to be a pull. And to create that pull, you have to give them that environment. Hence, like I said, we are exploring a learning experience platform, not a learning management platform, but a learning experience, where probably, we would pilot with a small cohort again to see how it really shapes up, where we would say, okay, if these are the skills that are required to do your job today, where are you on them today? And what do you need to do to kind of, do your job well? And where do you really want to go? I mean, what is your future job that you're really looking at? And what are the skills required for that? And then you start developing those skills. But what you really need then is the content for that. And that content is available on open source. Can we put all of that together? There's content that is available on our learning management systems. Can that also come up? Can you also do a blended approach along with that, with classroom, virtual programs? But can it just be one experience rather than the employee going to different platforms like they do today? So there's one learning management system here, then they probably go to Google, they go to YouTube. Can we all put it together? I think that is what the future is going to be, where they just at a click they get everything on the table and they know this is the role I'm looking for, or this is the role I need to do today, and this is what is available based on my skills for me to develop on those skills. That's going to be the future, I feel.
Okay. And Satish, at Maruti Suzuki, again, auto sector, always a large workforce. You are the biggest car manufacturer in India, and you have a surprisingly low attrition rate. So give us a sense of what's happening on the L&D front or the skilling front, and how you are harnessing AI in that area.
So on the L&D front, yes, what we are doing is not very different from what everybody is doing. Everybody these days has a learning LMS platform. Everybody uses various tools in the market which enable people to learn seamlessly, like Netflix app learning, and then people start, then it offers suggestions, you can refer learning programs to others. So collaborative learning by using technology, and then also personalization in terms of knowing what skill is. Actually, basically at Maruti Suzuki, we are in the midst of moving to a role-based organization from a tenure-driven organization.
Right.
And that is a massive change in terms of not just the way we work, but the way we look at work, the way we look at skills, the way we look at promoting people in future. And in that bargain, learning takes center stage. And that is exactly where our learning management system today is being, we are investing and reviewing it to make it more and more GenAI with GenAI power, so that people get personalized scope for learning, and it reflects in their skill upgradation, which eventually will help them grow. Coming to the second part, where people managers. Now we also have a lot of people who are young managers, but then at the same time, people management is not a skill we are born with.
Yeah.
So we need to train. It's a trainable skill, and that is exactly where we have something called Maruti Suzuki Express. Now this is our employee engagement tool, like which everyone has. Instead of annual, we do it once in 6 months. But what it does is, it provides a personalized dashboard for every manager for their team, and cascades it upwards. And there, what is the role of AI? Whenever we do an employee engagement survey, out of the 15 odd questions we will ask, the last question, which is any other inputs or suggestions, basically that's where the real emotions lie.
Right.
And that is the question, I must admit, as HR people, is the least analyzed one. Because those are subjective ones. How many HR people will read how many things in Excel and search words and analyze? So so here the AI, because it's a machine, goes through all the forms, 17,000, 20,000 people, pulls out the customized concerns at each team level, division level, to the company level. And not only, it doesn't stop there, it actually offers solutions on how to solve.
Right.
So that is where it helps the young managers or people managers do better by using AI.
So let's also then talk a little bit about exit interviews and what happens when an employee resigns, and you have, obviously every organization has an exit interview and a form that they're filling, reasons for leaving, etc. How do you then engage AI for retentions, especially if it's a very valuable employee? Thiru, you want to give us some insights on that?
Well, when you are doing an exit interview, it is actually quite far down the path.
Yeah.
AI will not help. It is the conversation with the human that will most likely retain the individual. However, when you have a global organization with lots of employees, we want to be able to proactively analyze which are the parts of the organization across which part of the world, what skill, what level are we actually going to be seeing attrition. Attrition is not just internal, it is a factor of an external market as well. So we use AI tools to determine potential hotspots, and therefore we can then plan investments proactively, knowing that there is this higher degree of confidence that someone may be potential to leave, and therefore we use this periodically to make sure that we invest. From a compensation perspective is one aspect. The second aspect is, it's not just, people don't just leave for money, and they leave for certain experiences if they are not learning, if they are not growing their careers, etc. And therefore we have solutions that nudge the manager to say, you haven't had a career conversation with this employee for more than 8 months, perhaps you should schedule a conversation. You have 3 employees who have not completed interesting learning, maybe you should have a conversation, therefore they're lagging behind. And we also drive a high performance culture, and therefore you don't want to carry employees who are not performing to a certain standard that meets your client or within IBM. Why don't you have a tough conversation of goals, and therefore you want to be able to drive a certain level of performance culture in the organization. But coming back, at the time of the exit interview, I think AI will give you information about the employee, which you may not necessarily know, but the conversation is always with the manager or with the senior colleague.
Right. So you mentioned these nudges, and I want to ask, now at the manager's end, if he or she is continuously receiving some of these nudges within IBM, then is it mandatory for them to follow the nudges? Is it something they do voluntarily, or are they incentivized to follow those nudges? How does that work? Because if it's not mandated, chances are that manager is going to say, I'm overloaded, I don't need to do this conversation right now, push it out by a month.
It's a great question, and that's part of the change management. Yeah. It took us a while, but people love these nudges. In IBM, we are manager led. They are a player as well as a coach. So you don't have just managers who manage teams. They have a day job, and over and above, you lead teams. So therefore the information that you require about 15 employees in your team who are not always co-located with you. They could be spread across 6 different locations. You might meet them maybe once in 2 years perhaps. Therefore, we're highly dependent on information that is not readily available to you in physical form or up on your screen, and therefore these nudges are so critical. And managers are intelligent. They want high performing teams, people who you've invested in developing skills, need to continue. So they usually sort of learn to do it. But we are a churning organization. We invest a lot of time enabling our managers because, in a large country like India, people come, people go, and therefore they come from different cultures. Yeah. But when they see a futuristic operating model, you have no choice but to adopt it. Otherwise, you'll be left behind.
Right. I would agree with that. I think the supervisor really plays a very, very important role. And like all of you all, we are also investing a lot in the supervisory capability building. In fact, we've partnered with the Great Manager Institute, and they have this framework which is called Connect, Develop and Inspire. And the whole idea is that when you get information like this, you understand that it's important for you to connect with people who may be red flags in the system because they've been around for whatever reasons, and the bot that we are using is throwing up that information to say, okay, in 30, 60, 90 days this is the reason, after 12 months this is the reason, after 24 months maybe this is the reason, 5 years down, 10 years down, this is the reason, this is the cohort. And that's when the manager really needs to act. And this whole program is really building on that capability to say that, it's better to retain them, and because you've already invested in them so much, and rather than get new people, because it is an effort for the manager also to get new people, train them again, then look at business, and it's fast moving business for us. So I think these two things really go hand in hand.
CNBC TV 18 presents the AI Dialogues in association with IBM. CNBC TV 18 presents the AI Dialogues in association with IBM.
Let's talk a little bit about the metrics that companies track for the success of AI implementation. How do you all do that? How do you know that AI implementation has been successful? One part, of course, is the cost. But since we are having a people-centric conversation, let's touch upon the other metrics. And Vikram, in your case, again, a large conglomerate, I'm sure many different metrics being tracked as far as
So
success
I think
is concerned.
one metric that we are trying to track is adoption. So how many times are people actually using AI tool? We are tracking training courses that people have done or not done, and as Thiru was saying, if not done, then there are alerts to managers to say, can you please engage the person to do that? We are also assessing the data that comes out of our hiring assessments, which I said were AI led or getting there. Job descriptions, for instance. So I think we are using a combination of usage, learning, and decision making in the organization to see AI adoption, but still a long way to go.
Okay. Satish, how would you define what success metric would you track as far as,
Yeah, ultimately the proof of the pudding is in the eating. I mean, we might make nice PowerPoints, but then they have to be connected to what we want to do, and that's exactly where the AI we are using for talent pipelining. Let's say the tool that writes to people in the social media, it has actually increased our talent pipeline by 3 to 4 times the number of CVs that, or the potential candidates that we wanted to outreach to. Similarly, the second one I spoke about, Arjun, which is the in-house CV screening system, helps us reduce our hiring time, and that's a measure that works everywhere. Last but not the least, about listening and equipping managers to conduct stay interviews, managers and HR. That's attrition, where thankfully, I mean, being one of the largest employers in the auto industry, our attrition rate has always been much lesser than the average. It has multiple aspects to it, but yes, the contribution of technology should not be ignored as well.
And Thiru, at IBM, how do you define that this AI implementation in the HR space has been successful?
Well, it's very nascent. We're really scratching the surface on the possibilities. As my colleagues here have said, of course we measure learning on AI because we are a skill-based business. It doesn't matter what role in the organization you play. You absolutely need to have a foundational level understanding on AI, generative AI, and how the technology actually works. Of course, wherever we've implemented an AI-based solutions, there is a lot of metrics that go with, calling it a success, worth it or not worth it. Right. Turnaround time, the adoption rates, as Vikram was mentioning, accuracy of the information that comes out, employee feedback and manager feedback, and NPS in terms of the experience. So, all of the above, I would think, but I think not every AI solution is successful. We have a use case for expense reimbursements. We have a lot of travelers, domestic and international. Are people actually submitting claims according to the policies, and making sure that it is not fraudulent or in any ways. You just really can't have armies of people sort of looking at paper and invoices. And we have a wonderful, it's called Sherlock, and all of this is Watson X powered. And it is so efficient and so intelligent, and it's been able to pick up, guide managers and employees so that they do the right thing all the time with decision rights. Right? So we've seen some fantastic use cases that have been deployed world over that has not just given us productivity gains, but has elevated the employee and manager experience.
But let's also then talk about the ethics around AI and the responsibility that usage of artificial intelligence brings, because that's an area that business leaders around the world are grappling with. There are numerous challenges on that front, especially when it comes to using AI for people. And the most obvious one, of course, is biases in terms of hiring. What else? How would you define responsible AI, Thiru, and then we can open it up to others?
Sure. I mean, responsible AI, as we see it, is really a framework that enables all technology companies to design, develop, and deploy trusted solutions. And we sort of anchor this trust over 4 or 5 pillars. One is explainability. And I think Satish mentioned this earlier. Whatever recommendation or whatever outcome the AI is sort of suggesting to employees or managers needs to be explainable. What is the logic that it is using? What kind of data sources that is it referring to, etc. And therefore, it's transparent in nature. How does this whole technology work, and how is this making that recommendation? So explainability and transparency. The other thing is on fairness. I mean, we have a world that is so diverse. Is this technology having the right representation of data across all demographics that exist in the world, all data sources that are required for it to make an accurate or near accurate recommendation, right? So fairness is the other part. The other thing is robustness. In today's world, as much as there is good AI, there's also this vulnerability, hacking, adversaries. So you really need to have a system that can withstand these vulnerabilities. And therefore, you need to have a very robust system that does not drift away or hallucinate. You need to have a management system, in place. And then, data privacy. And we talked about that a little bit as well. The data should belong to the creator. It needs to be highly confidential in an environment that is secure. So all of this, when you sort of put together, and you need to have a framework that is open, because you don't just rely on a organization or a set of small demographic. For this to be robust enough, you've got to have open systems that multiple language models sort of can learn from each other. And IBM's own Granite model that need to work together. It's no more sufficient to be narrow with one model. It has to be sort of stacking up together from a technology point of view. And all of this has societal implications. It has legal consequences that if not followed right. And we have to have a certain regulatory framework. So we really need to have a very strong ethical framework around responsible AI. From an IBM point of view, we recently launched watsonx.governance that sort of brings this together. And for any client across any industry, you can it's a studio approach that makes sure that it sort of builds around each of these principles of ethical AI and responsible AI. We also are learning from each other. So through like-minded companies, IBM has launched an AI alliance so that we work with multiple leading organizations, including our clients, in making sure that we have this ethical foundation around AI.
Yeah, I think that's the cornerstone of this era, that collaboration has to be a pillar in everything that we do as far as AI is concerned. Charan, coming to you, given the sensitive nature of data as far as insurance sector is concerned, also a lot of regulations there. How do you at Max Life Insurance then ensure that AI is ethically harnessed, responsibly used in all your implementation within HR?
So there's a lot of feedback taken from the users. When there's a AI, implication that is made in the organization, then there's a lot of feedback that is taken from the users, and that really helps. There are regular audits and assessments that are done on that initiative. So that's another thing that happens really. There are policies that are around it. So the adherence to that policy, there's a team that really looks into that. The data information security is very, very strong. So anything that pops up, which is an alarm, is really attacked or is really looked into very, very quickly. And of course, there are constant conversations that happen with the leadership team as well to ensure that there is an ethical way of really putting those the initiatives forward and all of that.
Absolutely. So finally then, if we were to think about one big challenge and one big opportunity that generative AI is going to bring, particularly to the HR space, in terms of processes, in terms of operations, in terms of cost benefits, business excellence, people excellence, whatever. It's a blue sky for you to think of the next big challenge and opportunity that you are gearing up for, or your organizations are gearing up for, and how you're doing that. Thiru, if we can start with you.
Well, I think if I have to say, it's going to get worse before it becomes better. Yeah. So the concern that I would like to, that I think about is how are we going to tide through this chaos of transition with this exponential technology. And the beauty of this whole journey will be if can we take our people along. So at the end of the day, there will be two kinds of people, those who are comfortable with AI and those who are not. And I think the latter will lose out. So those are some of the concerns that we have as HR leaders in the ability to take our workforce along in this journey. And like with any other new technology, there will be some wonderful returns that all of us will bear. And I'm actually excited to see in the next 1 or 2 years, it's here and now, and I'm not saying 10 or 15 years, in the next 1 or 2 years, how workforce dynamics will play out for a country like India. And all of the planning, the talent management systems. Like today, we have actually 3 or 4 digital, bots in a team of 10 people. So when we actually lead a team or do performance management at the end of the year, annually, we actually do performance management of the bot as well. So it's an organizational, is that bot delivering to the expectation that it was actually intended for? What are the improvements? Does it require further investment, just like another employee?
So have you fired any bots yet?
We actually have, yes. And then so that we sort of continue to. So talent management is hybrid with digital labor along with actually human labor. Sure. So it's side by side.
Right. So the investment in that bot depends on how well it performs.
Absolutely right.
Okay, very interesting.
Yeah, I think it's like any other change management agenda that we should look at. I think it is a change, but it's a rapid change. It's a very fast change. So how do we really manage this change with our employees? And like you said, we need to probably take them along. I think that inclusivity of bringing, when you're making these kind of decisions, if you involve the employees, I think that would make a lot of difference, and especially, the Gen Zs, as we call them. So I think that would make a difference. But I think the future is about AI and digital. So I think we can't shy away from it. We can't go slow on it anymore. So I think that is the road and the path that we will have to take in any case.
I think we are living in a revolution that is taking place, and in the next 24 months will be a game changer. I think there'll be huge, massive productivity gains. The opportunity of doing top quality work with machines is already here. And each one of us, whether we like it or not, in the next few years will have a large number of tools to work with. And who knows, in 3 to 5 years may have a robot sitting next to us and doing a lot of stuff also. And it's not very far-fetched. I think the biggest challenge is making people comfortable with the change and reassuring them that adoption is possible and it will make them center stage.
Satish.
So one big opportunity that AI will give us is it will actually make managers become better managers by getting them insights, early warnings about people. It will free up HR people to do stuff on development because when technology is easily available to everyone, the only differentiating factor in organizations then will remain how well you partner in the careers of your people. Yeah. And that is one biggest opportunity. But I mean, everything has a contra. So if we overdo it, then lose the human touch. That, according to me, is the biggest challenge that technology can bring in.
And thank you so much, gentlemen. Thank you, Charan, for joining us here today. Clearly, it's a very, very exciting era that we live in, and there are exciting times ahead for the HR function of companies, as well as artificial intelligence elevates employee experiences and unlocks new levels of productivity within the workforce. At the same time, it is crucial that organizations adopt self-regulation while navigating challenges around the ethics and the responsible use of AI. That's a wrap on this edition of cnbctv18.com presents AI Dialogues in association with IBM. Thank you very much for joining us here today. Until next time, goodbye.
CNBC TV 18 presents the AI Dialogues in association with IBM.